In this video, I'm going to give you 10 uses for a butt pad out on the trail and review my favourite sit pad. What's up guys, Pi here. So you asked for it and now you're getting it. This video I'm going to talk you through 10 uses for a butt pad out on the trail and review my favourite sit pad. On this channel I talk about through hiking, ultralight backpacking and everything gear related. So if that sounds interesting to you, consider subscribing. Let's dive into the video. Okay, so use number one is to obviously sit on the butt pad. If you're through hiking or you're out backpacking, you're going to be passing through a lot of different environments. You might come across wet ground, snow-covered ground, rocky and uneven terrain. So having something warm and insulated to put down on the ground to keep you off of that wet ground is obviously super beneficial. When we're out backpacking, we obviously want to avoid getting our clothes wet and dirty as much as possible. So obviously having something to put down onto the ground to keep you off of it is going to really help. Use number two for a butt pad is as a back panel on your backpack. Companies such as Gossamer gear and other ultralight backpacking companies integrate a sleeve into their backpacks where you can put a sleeping pad in or either a butt pad. This obviously helps protect your back against any items in the backpack pushing through, and it helps to ventilate your back when you're sweating as opposed to having a thick sheet of material. On this summer's hiking trip I'm taking the Gossamer gear Gorilla with me, and integrated into that is the Airflow z-lite butt pad. It has kind of an open honeycomb design which allows air and moisture to flow through the pack, and I'm going to go into a little bit more details towards the end of the video. Use number three for a butt pad on the trail is to use as a doormat. Ultralight backpacking shelters are pretty frugal on their facilities. Actually this summer I'm moving to a tarp and bivvy combination, so I don't have a dedicated floor. It's really nice to have a movable doormat that I can move around my shelter as needed. So for example, if I'm blowing up my sleeping pad or laying out my quilt, then I can kneel on the butt pad and it kind of keeps me up and elevated from the ground. It's also great to be able to kind of shuffle butt my way off of my sleeping pad and onto the butt pad when I'm, say, getting out of my tent or putting my shoes on in the morning. Use number four for a butt pad is to put underneath your hips, underneath your sleeping pad. I always carry an inflating air mattress with me on trail because it's really important for me to get a good night's sleep, but I do sometimes find that my hips touch the ground when I'm sleeping on my side. So I put the foam butt pad underneath my hips, and that obviously helps protect me from any hard ground underneath. And then of course when we're actually sitting up on top of our sleeping bag, say I'm eating breakfast from inside the tent, which is what I do every morning, then all of my weight is concentrated on that one area of the sleeping pad, and I feel like it helps protect the sleeping pad to have the foam pad underneath that, so if there is any sharp rocks or sharp ground underneath me, at least it helps protect the sleeping pad in that way. And of course it also provides a little bit of extra warmth and insulation from any cold ground underneath you by having the foam butt pad underneath your sleeping pad. Use number five for a butt pad is to fan a fire. I don't have that many fires when I'm ultralight backpacking, but if I'm going backpacking maybe in the winter with friends, we'll have a fire and sit around the fire and hang out, and so using the foam butt pad to fan the fire works really well. You can use up quite a lot of your energy just by blowing on the fire, and having something sort of rigid to fan that fire works really well. Use number six for a butt pad is to use as a splint in an emergency situation. I really hope that I never have to splint someone's leg on a through hike or on a backpacking trip, but I always do carry Leukotape with me, which I normally use just to treat blisters, but I do carry enough with me so that if I needed to improvise a splint with the butt pad, I could definitely do that. I would of course put the butt pad up against someone's leg, grab that Leukotape, wrap it around as many times as I could to try and make the person feel comfortable. It's obviously not the ideal situation, but it's a pretty good improvised splint in an emergency. Use number seven for a butt pad is as a nice clean dry place to lay out, say, electronics or small valuables. This kind of goes hand in hand with having the movable doormat. For example, in the mornings if I'm changing batteries in my camera and I just need a clean dry place to lay out important stuff, I can have that next to me while I'm still inside my sleeping bag, have it right there, lay out all my gear and do whatever I need to do. Use number 8 for a foam butt pad is as a dedicated sleeping pad. I'm sure some super ultralight backpacking guys have used nothing but a foam butt pad and their backpack to insulate themselves from the ground on super ultralight trips. It's not something I would do personally, but you definitely could do that. I have also woken up in the middle of the night with a completely deflated mattress. At least having something like the foam butt pad to insulate me from the ground maybe helps me get like a half decent night's sleep until I can get into town and find the leak in my sleeping pad and try and get it patched up. Use number 9 for a butt pad is to insulate your stove from cold ground on kind of shoulder season backpacking trips. On about 90% of all of my backpacking trips, I'm using a canister stove, and they can be prone to failure in kind of shoulder season temperatures. So in the early spring or in the late fall, especially here in Finland where temperatures can drop quite rapidly, it's important to insulate your fuel canister from the ground. What I normally do is I sleep with my fuel canister inside my sleeping bag to keep it warm, and then when I do want to use the stove, I just put the canister on top of the butt pad and it helps insulate it from that cold ground. On hardcore winter backpacking trips where temperatures are going to be consistently below 0 degrees, I'll carry a liquid fuel stove, but for every other situation, using a canister stove with the butt pad works really well. So the 10th and final use for a sleeping pad is as a signalling device. In an emergency situation, if you had something to wave around to try and attract people's attention, that's really going to help. You could also get creative and start writing notes on your butt pad, for example when hitching into town or when hitching back to the trail. So those are my 10 uses for a butt pad. Now I just want to touch briefly on my favourite sit pad for the trail. This is the Gossamer Gear Airflow Sit-Lite pad, and as I said, it integrates really well with most Gossamer Gear packs that have a sleeve. It's a honeycomb design, so air and moisture can flow through it. It's extremely comfortable whether you're sitting on it or using it as a back panel. It's quite large, which is pretty important for me, and it provides a relatively flat surface for me to rest my stove or any other gear I want to put on top of it. The only real drawback I see to this butt pad is that of course it doesn't fold up because it's designed to be used as the back panel for the backpack. If you did want to use this butt pad, of course you could just strap it to the top of most UL backpacks. Carrying a butt pad on any backpacking trip is a no-brainer as far as I'm concerned. I'm sure I've missed out a few uses for a butt pad, so if you can think of some, leave me a comment below and also let me know what butt pad you use out on the trail. Check out some more videos from me by clicking right here. Thanks for watching, and I'll catch you in the next one.